Warning, if you don't drink a protein shake within 5 minutes of finishing your workout, the entire workout will be wasted and you'll actually lose muscle. True or not true? Stick around to find out. All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Jonathan. My wife Blakely and I own Digital Barbell. We're an online training and nutrition coaching company helping people all over the place get in great shape. If what you're doing right now for your workouts and your nutrition isn't working, be sure to check the notes for this episode to see how we can help. Today, we're going to dive into what the science says about both pre and post-workout nutrition, so let's get right into it. Let's start by answering the question that I opened with. If you don't drink a protein shake right after you work out, will you lose muscle? In short, no. So today, let's talk about what you should and shouldn't eat before and after you work out to maximize your progress. Let's start by setting the record straight. Unless you're a professional athlete or you're training for the Olympics, nutrient timing is really like 1% stuff. The other 99% of the stuff is what really matters. Those are things like showing up consistently for your workouts, pushing yourself hard in your workouts, eating mostly nutrient-dense whole foods, and getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep per night. But once you do have those basics nailed, your pre and post-workout nutrition can help you optimize your results. So let's talk about your body and the food that you eat and how those work together. When we exercise, specifically when we're lifting weights, we're breaking down our muscle tissue. This is called a catabolic phase. And then when we recover through proper sleep and nutrition, that's when our body repairs that damage. And this is called an anabolic phase. To get stronger and build muscle, we need to spend more time in an anabolic state than in a catabolic state. And if you're overtraining and under-eating, you're really going to struggle to make progress and you might end up getting injured. This is really where the power of proper nutrition comes in. It's the key in getting out of a catabolic state and into an anabolic state. Specifically, what I'm talking about here is the process called muscle protein synthesis. It's the process by which your body builds and repairs muscle. And the biggest component of muscle protein synthesis from a nutritional standpoint are the amino acids, specifically the branched chain amino acids, leucine, valine, and isoleucine. These amino acids help kickstart that muscle building process, and these kind of protein are mostly found in animal sources of protein. All right, let's dive in specifically to what you should eat before your workouts. With pre-workout nutrition, when should you eat your protein? If you train first thing in the morning and you're waking up fasted and an empty stomach, it would be a good idea to have a protein shake or a meal containing protein before your workout. We'd recommend having a protein containing meal within about 2 hours of your workout and aiming for about 30 grams of protein in that meal. Could come from something like whey, eggs, dairy, or even meat. That amount of high quality protein in your pre-workout meal will help you get out of that catabolic state, prevent extra muscle breakdown, and help speed up your recovery. If you train later in the day and you've already had a high protein meal within a few hours of training, there's no reason to have extra protein just before your workout. Once you eat a high protein meal, those muscle protein synthesis levels stay elevated for several hours after the meal. All right, let's move on to pre-workout carbs. Carbohydrates fuel your workouts by being converted into glucose. That glucose is available to be burned for energy in your bloodstream, and it's also stored in your muscles and in your liver as reserve energy called glycogen. Studies show that having between 30 and 40 grams of carbs about 30 minutes before your workout can help improve your performance and preserve your glycogen stores. We'd recommend thinking of simple, easy to digest carb sources like bananas or rice cakes, or even a carbohydrate powder like highly branched cyclic dextrin if you just cannot stand the idea of having food in your stomach when you work out. Some carb sources like apples or bread can make you feel fuller for longer because of the fiber content, so keep that in mind too. All right, what about pre-workout dietary fat? Should you be eating peanut butter before you work out? In short, no. Try to keep fat light before you work out. Fat actually slows down the digestion of both protein and carbs, which isn't ideal if you're trying to fuel up quickly. So I'm sorry to report that avocado toast and Snickers are not great options for pre-workout food. Okay, you've crushed your workout. Now let's move on and talk about post-workout nutrition. After you exercise, your body is in a catabolic state, so we need to shift that back to an anabolic state with protein. This is probably where the myth came from that you have to drink a protein shake immediately after your workout, but again, it's just not true. If you had a high protein pre-workout meal, you don't need to panic. You're covered for several hours. If it's been a long time since you did have a high protein meal, don't wait another 5, 6, or 7 hours before you have more protein. Go ahead and have a high protein meal within a couple hours of that workout, aiming for 30 to 40 grams of protein. What about post-workout carbs? Should you have those? Yes, absolutely, especially if you're doing heavy weightlifting or other intense kinds of exercise. Carbs are the best way to help you replenish your glycogen stores after the workout. You don't have to go overboard though and crush an entire box of pasta or anything like that. Eating a moderate amount of carbs, something around 30 to 50 grams after your workout, is plenty to kick off recovery. This becomes more important if you're doing something like a CrossFit competition that's going to have multiple events. But for the average person who's just doing group classes or normal workouts, we don't have to overcomplicate it. Have a meal with some rice, some grains, or some beans within an hour or two after your workout. And if you don't have time for that or it doesn't work with your schedule, just grab a couple of pieces of fruit and get busy. All right, let's recap the main takeaways. Priority 1, focus on your overall nutrition. Eat protein at every meal. Try to focus on high quality protein sources from animals when possible. And eat in quantities that match your activity level so you don't store extra body fat. If you want to know how many calories and how much protein we recommend for your goals, I'll put a link to our calculator in the description below. Pre-workout takeaways. Have about 30 grams of protein within a couple hours of training. Have 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrates about 30 minutes before your workout, and keep fat low before your workout too. Post-workout, do not skip your next meal, especially if it's been a long time since you ate before your workout. Try to make that post-workout meal have 30 to 40 grams of protein within a couple hours, and make sure to include some carbs to increase recovery, especially if you had an intense workout. And most important of all, don't overcomplicate things just for the purpose of making things harder. The most important thing is that you have a plan you can stick with. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment below. Let us know what you do for your pre and post-workout nutrition, or send us a message on Instagram if you're listening to this episode. And as always, thank you for being here. If you found this episode helpful, feel free to share it with a friend, and make sure you subscribe before you go. If you need one-on-one help with your training and nutrition, make sure you check out the description below to see how we can work together. Have a great day.